What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Young Rich Podcast. Today, again, I am solo dolo for today, and I have been behind on uploads, right? So we're gonna get a lot off our chest today. We're gonna discuss a lot of different things, a couple key trades that happened this week, going forward. Davante Adams getting shipped off to the New York Jets. We're gonna be talking about Amari Cooper going to Buffalo, right? Which I particularly like a lot. I like that move for them. We're gonna be discussing the Thursday Night Football recap. The NFC South, is it the best division of football? We're going to know the Detroit Lions in their upcoming matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. And Nick Sirianni, Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he's arguing with his fans. Is he on the hot seat, right? Is his job on the line today or this upcoming week? And then we're also going to be discussing the NBA preseason, or excuse me, the NBA start to the opening night Tuesday. Got some good, primetime matchups going on Tuesday. Excuse me, I'm stuttering at this current moment. Just had a lot of caffeine, so my mind's racing. I'm trying to talk so fast, and I'm trying to get out here and put some passion into what I'm saying. And then, I'm also at the same time, at the high of my high right now, so the caffeine's hitting me all at once, and now I'm just feeling some type of way. But it's been a good day today, right? Yesterday, Thursday Night Football recap, right? If you haven't been keeping track of my gambling stuff that I've been posting, my picks was on a 7-0 heater. Yesterday, 1-2 night, right? I took Bo Nix over 185.5 passing yards, which he didn't hit. I took Alvin Kamara over 36.5 receiving yards, and the Denver Broncos to win by 2.5. Denver Broncos absolutely smashed the 2.5. I knew that was absolutely sweat free. Listen, you're missing Chris Olave, missing Derek Carr. You were missing two starting linemen. You were also missing Rashid Shaheed, who's probably out for the season. You lost Paul Odebo during that game. You got carted off the field. There's just a lot of injuries, and you're also missing your starting linebacker, right? So there's just a lot of injuries for the New Orleans Saints, and I'm just not happy with their defense. Didn't think they were looking very good, this season so far after the first 2 game start. So listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Everyone who followed my plays, I had a little discussion with some people yesterday. I listen to the community, right? And this is somewhat of my problem when I make plays and put them out publicly. Sometimes I'll let the community dictate what I want to post. I'll be like, yo, the community thinks Alvin Kamara is going to go for 36.5 receiving yards. Okay, the whole community likes that play. Maybe I'm not looking at this game right. Maybe I think something else should happen. Maybe I'm not there. Maybe I'm not listening to the right numbers. Maybe I'm paying attention to the right numbers, the right matchups, right? And so maybe they did their research differently. And then, the game goes out, right? Again, Bo Nix, again, another, community-like play. I've seen a lot of good people put that play out there. Also seen a lot of people mess with his rushing yards, which is something I should have looked at more vividly, right? But listen, the 2 plays that I wanted to take this week, or for Thursday Night Football, was Javonte Williams over his rushing yard prop, which he absolutely banged. He banged in the first half, and Alvin Kamara under 70.5 rushing yards, right? And this was exactly what I wanted to take. I knew it was going to happen, right? And I just wasn't confident in my stuff. I let the community dictate what I was going to put out here and put out for you guys. So listen, 1-2 yesterday. That's on me. We should have been a 3-0 sweep. I knew how that matchup was going to go. I knew how this game was going to go, and I didn't go with my gut feeling. So that's on me. So people who follow me, I owe you. I'm going to be locked in. College football tomorrow, NFL Sunday night, and Monday Night Football as well. I'm going to be locked in to an absolute T. College football. Listen, if you don't know anything or there's too much college football going on to know who you really want to bet about, check out Joel Klatt, his podcast. He does weekly pick'ems, and he's absolutely a great guy. I mean, I follow all the stuff on college football. For me so far, every play that I follow for him, I haven't yet to miss one. So I'm gonna stay with him until that wagon falls off. But I got a lot of good plays that I like to have. Kansas State 3.5 against who do they end up playing? I think they end up playing West Virginia is who they end up playing this week. Who I just like that matchup a lot. USC minus 7.5. Alabama minus 3.5 against Tennessee. Texas by 3.5 as well against Georgia. And then there was another play that I just won't remember, but I will be uploading those tomorrow to start the college football off with a heater this weekend. So hopefully you ride, you don't. But currently very profitable on NFL. Very profitable in NFL. I win more than I lose. I think I'm at like a 69-70% hit rate at this current moment, which I think is a great line to be at, a great spot to be at. Definitely been making some make some wins. College football, it's a lot harder. I feel like for me because there's a lot of different players to look at, different defenses, different conferences, straight the schedule. How good your team really is compared to another great team. There's a lot of different factors in college football. So I think I'd like to stick to just at the spread stuff, playing by the numbers, over unders, all that different stuff. But yeah, but Thursday night football recap again. Listen, this is exactly how I thought it was gonna have. Denver wins 33-10. Listen, Bo Nix yesterday. I mean, I'm not sold on Bo Nix, right? I mean, I think he's doing okay. He's not turning the ball over. His completion percentage, I would like it to be a little bit higher. There's a couple times where I just feel like he's looking down the field way too long, and he's just not getting the ball out of his hands. And I don't know if that has to do with the lack of wide receiver production. Cortland Sutton, is he not the same guy? No Tim Patrick, Troy Franklin. Shout out Troy Franklin. Let's go Ducks. It's the only time you're ever going to hear me say that. But he went out there, made a couple big catches this game as well. He stepped up in his absence. And I don't know if it has to do with the lack of perimeter receivers that this team has, perimeter weapons, because Davante Williams definitely did his thing. And, once they kind of got into cruise control, they were up by so much, they kind of just, played they played ahead, played good defensively. They ran the ball, Javonte Williams, which they did to a T yesterday. And then they stopped the run. This defense is just so good, even without Pat Surtain. Listen, this defense is the truth, right? And you've seen the Los Angeles Chargers were able to run against this very same team just last week, So it was questionable thinking coming in. Like, could the Saints get it done? But just way too many injuries at the end. Spencer Rattler. I mean, listen, I'm gonna say I've always hated Spencer Rattler, right? I will put that out there. I've always hated Spencer Rattler since he was at Oklahoma. Watching him at the QB1 and just his attitude, and when he went to Oklahoma and the way he acted and him losing his job. Like, I was just never a Spencer Rattler guy. I just always looked at him and I wanted to see him lose, right? And to see him struggle, it obviously made me smile a little bit. As messed up as that might sound, but again, I don't want to see any rookie QB struggle, right? But this is a great defense, a difficult position for him to be in, especially with no Rashid Shaheed, no Taysom Hill. You're missing two of your starting offensive linemen, and it's just a tough situation to be in, right? Listen, and you're not getting helped by the defensive side of the ball as well. Like, that defense has not looked great this year. Offensively, you're still, listen, Kubiak has done a great job of drawing stuff up, but it's hard when you're missing some of your key playmakers on offense and you're unable to run the ball. You have to make your rookie quarterback do a lot more than what he feels comfortable doing, and you saw that. You had a couple picks, had a lot of, a fumble that turned into a touchdown. You had a couple plays that could have easily been two other defensive touchdowns for Denver, right? So this was just a very one-sided game. Listen, if you expected anything else, I don't know what games you've been watching, but, again, this was a ass whooping from the start. This was belt to ass, just like most people assumed it was going to be. All right, and then getting to NBA opening night, listen, you have two of the most the most historic franchises playing off to start off the season again. Just like any other night, the Los Angeles Lakers are opening up your NBA season against the Minnesota Timberwolves in LA at 7, right? Listen, Minnesota's still a 1.5 point favorite. Should they be favorites in this game? Yes, 100%, right? Just the way they ended last season. I know they lost Cat, but you still got Julius Randle, who's a great player. And especially against the Lakers, who we're not really sure how we're going to look this year, right? Like, we had that one year where we made it the WCF and we looked like a good team. Unfortunately, Denver was just a better team than us that year, right? And then you've seen us play Denver again last year, and the same exact story. We lost 4-1. Denver just had our number, right? D'Lo again turned into the D'Angelo Russell in prime time, not being able to hit any shot, clanking off the backboard. So it's just, I still think we're going to make a trade throughout this season. Last year we played opening night. We lost by, 15 to Denver. Again, Jokic did Jokic-like thing. Jamal Murray turned into prime MJ every time he plays the Lakers. And so, yeah, no KCP, or I'm talking about the Denver Nuggets for a second, excuse me. No Karl Anthony Towns. You still have a very, very deep roster, right? I still expect Anthony Edwards to be great. I still expect Julius Randle to be solid. Dante DiVincenzo, another great role piece to that team. You still have elite defense. You still got Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels. You have a lot of great pieces around this team. LeBron, you're aging, right? Listen, Anthony Davis, if we get an Anthony Davis shooting 4 threes a game, shooting and making 4 threes a game like we seen in the preseason yesterday, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. That adds a totally different dynamic to our team, right? And you've heard this conversation that the Lakers are looking for another big. They're looking for someone to play alongside AD who can play, so AD can play at the four, which is where he really wants to play at, right? And if AD can start shooting this three at just a league average rate, 35%, 34%, that makes our team dynamic totally different, right? So what do I expect coming in, right? I expect JJ Redick to, allow our shooters to shoot. I expect to see something. Hopefully, we can see some strides from Max Christie. Hopefully, we can see some strides, a better bounce back year from Austin Reeves, right? Hopefully, D'Angelo Russell can still give us solid regular season production, right? No Jared Vanderbilt to start the season. You're kind of trying to figure out this forward depth. If LeBron's not on the court, who's going to step up and go make those plays? Rui, you've seen, him. The point of emphasis this year has been shooting the three and offensive glass, uh, crashing on the offensive glass, trying to get as many boards as possible, as many second chance opportunities as possible, right? So I think that this is going to be a huge sign of, what our team's going to look like going forward. I know it's still early. It's opening night, right? There's going to be some rust. You got to get the rust off of things. You got to get into the new game plan of things, the first live game that actually means something. But I still think this means something, right? Can Dalton connect? He just had a 30-point game yesterday in the preseason, right? In a game winner. Can he continue that type of production? Not like 30 points a game, but the efficiency from shooting. Can he still efficiently give you buckets off the bench and just to help, right? Because last year we didn't really have that, right? We started the year off with Austin Reeves trying to be that guy off the bench, and then it just didn't make sense. And eventually we started D'Lo and Austin Reeves alongside each other, right? So there's a lot of questions about this team. And for the Lakers, obviously, I know we're on a win now situation due to LeBron James aging, right? You don't know how many years he's guaranteed to play left. Maybe we can be excited for this whole Bronny James on the court at the same time against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a regular season game. That would be cool. That would be very exciting. I'd be happy to see that. Go Lakers. I guess. But I'm excited for the season. Basketball's officially about to be starting in a couple days. I couldn't be happier. Going to be looking forward to going to as many Sacramento Kings games as possible because that's the closest team to where I'm at this current moment. Obviously, I go to LA a couple games every year just because that's my team out there. But every time the Lakers play in Sac, I'm here. So looking forward to a great, fun basketball season. And yeah, so let's go Lakers. Hopefully, we can come off with the opening night win. But then you got the Knicks and Celtics, which is another, I think, a great banger matchup. I mean, listen, you got the defending champs going against the Knicks, who some teams think should have been in the ECF if it wasn't due to the literally everybody on the team falling apart. You did lose Isaiah Hartenstein. You did lose Julius Randle, right, who didn't really play that year last year. Anyways, but you brought in you brought back OG Anunoby. You brought in Mikal Bridges. You did lose Dante DiVincenzo. You still have Josh Hart. You still have Jalen Brunson, who took a pay cut for this team, right? You still have Tom Thibodeau, who just got extended. And you still have Miles McBride. And I actually love this team. I do. I love Jalen Brunson. I think he's a better player. I think of him very highly, maybe higher than some people will, right? I just think he's an absolute dog. He can just get buckets when he needs to. He's a great player, great playmaker, great teammate, humble guy. And I think he's going to have a great season again. He's going to dominate with OG Anunoby alongside him, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, doing what Josh Hart can do off the bench. This is great to see. No Mitchell Robinson, I don't think. As of this current moment, I don't think he's going to be ready to play opening night. So maybe we see Precious Achiuwa starting at the center, playing a little bit of that smaller ball 5. But yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, I'm rooting for the Knicks, all right? Listen, this Celtics team, no KP. I know they're defending champs. You still have Jason Tatum, who people are thinking is going to have this, this redemption year where you felt disrespected after winning the finals. You didn't win finals MVP. Jaylen Brown outperformed you in most people's eyes, and now he's coming in here trying to get that respect that he wanted. Go out here and carve something for his name. Jason Tatum, the best player in basketball. That's what he's trying to do. So people are talking about this revenge arc story, like the Boston Celtics going back to back with how deep their roster is. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, still have Al Horford looking great, and all these guys. So I am personally rooting for the New York Knicks to win opening night, playing on the road in a tough environment, right? But I got the Knicks winning this opening night. I think the Knicks, their additions defensively is, especially in the regular season, I think you can kind of catch this Boston Celtics team off guard, not expecting them to come out like that. And I trust this New York Knicks team now with Karl Anthony Towns especially. I think, with Karl Anthony Towns' ability to space the floor and what he can do shooting the ball, it just makes this team so dynamic. Mikal Bridges not having to be the number one scorer like he was in Brooklyn. Now he can come out here and play the number 3 role, number 4 role even, and not have to force as many shots up. And I think that's when you get the best version of Mikal Bridges, right? So now you have two great 3D defenders in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Like, listen, I just love this team, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if they come out here and they win this game. They take this game 1 and start the season off 1-0. I really wouldn't, because I'm very high in the New York Knicks this year. I think the New York Knicks are going to be a very great team, and I'm hoping that they come out here and smash and beat put belt to ass against the Boston Celtics. There's no better way to put it, right? They need to go in there, especially because of how I'm a Lakers fan. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to see Boston Celtics winning championships, especially when they got the 18th and now we're sitting at 17, right? We don't want to see that stuff happen. So I need the New York Knicks to come in here, come all the way over into Boston, and come here and give belt to ass to this entire team, right? And smack them in the mouth on day 1. That would be absolutely great basketball. Historic franchises meet up on opening day, and I couldn't be happier for it. The next thing I did want to discuss is the 2 trades from this upcoming week. Listen, we have Davante Adams being traded to the New York Jets. Okay, the New York Jets, Davante Adams, you heard him. He was sitting out with the hamstring injury. He didn't want to play for my Raiders, right? He was sitting out. His hamstring was hurt. AP liked the tweet saying, yeah, this guy is not going to be a Raider no more. Now you have him on the Up and Adams show saying, yo, I didn't hear about this. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what's going on. I'm here. I'm a Raider, right? And then you get the whole trade situation popping up. And now you hear that Davante Adams doesn't want to be traded. He's a Raider, right? And then he misses last game. And next thing you know, he's traded as soon as the New York Jets lose, right? So, listen, at the end of the day, we knew it's happening. I knew what direction the team was going in. We were trying to get picks. We're trying to build up draft capital to make sure we get a QB of the future this year, this upcoming draft, right? That's why Tom Brady is now a part-time owner, a 10% stake owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. We are here to build winners, build a winning team, build a winning culture, and Tom Brady's, I hope, can instill that into us, right? But with that being said, I'm all for trading Davante Adams, get some draft picks. It's a third conditional, the third-round pick conditional, depending if Davante Adams becomes a first-team or second-team All-Pro, you can turn into a second-round pick. Or if he plays in an AFC Championship game, it will turn into a second-round pick. And listen, if this was the best we're going to get for an aging Davante Adams who still has a couple years left on his contract, no guarantees, right, but still a couple years left on his contract, this is the best we can get. It's the best we can get, right? I'm not mad at it. Everyone's always, I hear people talking about we should have got first-round picks and this and yada, yada, yada. Listen, we didn't even trade a first-round pick for Davante Adams, right? We had a second. I think it turned into a first, right? Because it was a conditional second. But it was based on his play, right? Which when he first year he was, right? But again, listen, I'm not worried about that. Josh McDaniels set this franchise back, okay? Davante Adams got here. He obviously didn't like Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels gets fired. You have a good relationship with AP. You're trying to make plays. You're trying to be a winning player. You're trying to win games, and it's just not happening. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, you're just not getting it done. So I understand where Davante Adams is coming from and why he wants to get out, right? But listen, the New York Jets now have Davante Adams. He's going to be starting this upcoming week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Listen, I think this makes this team's dynamic better, right? Because now you have Davante Adams going out here who's, in my eyes, still a top 5 receiver, right? Even though his numbers don't say that the last year. Like, listen, he just had bad quarterback play. And I don't care what anybody says. The quarterback play was just not there, okay? When you have Aiden O'Connell not competing a pass in the second half at some moments, like, that's just not going to make a guy like Davante Adams happy. Does he need touches? Yes. Is he that good? Yes. He's a talented player. I'm not going to say he deserves to have that type of, diva mentality. I don't like the diva stuff, but we didn't treat him right. At the end of the day, we didn't treat him right, so I don't blame him for wanting to go somewhere else, go with somebody he knows and going to go get touches and trying to compete and win, right? I'm not mad at him for doing that. He gave us almost 3 years of rough times for him through his standards, right? He was always in the playoffs winning Green Bay. He was always winning. So it's hard for him to adjust to a situation like this, and it wasn't like we were getting better. We were getting worse, right? So I don't blame him. But again, I like this for Garrett Wilson, right? In the fact that now Garrett Wilson can be a number 2 wide receiver, gets him open, more higher quality looks, right? Playing number 2 alongside Davante Adams. Now Allen Lazard can be the number 3 guy, and I just like this dynamic for the team. And I think this helps Breece Hall in the run game, right? It's gonna spread out the field, spread out the defense, have the respect and play Davante Adams more to Garrett Wilson, right? So now it opens it up for Breece Hall in the run game. So I think this will benefit the New York Jets. I still don't think the New York Jets are, a serious contender or anything like that, right? But I do think this helps the dynamic of the team. I think this helps Aaron Rodgers be more comfortable, right? Now you have legitimate two good receivers, right? People were talking about Garrett Wilson taking a top 10 jump this year, right? So I do like the dynamic for the team. I don't know how much I trust Aaron Rodgers to perform at to a top 15 QB level this year, right? Because he has not been great this year, right? I don't care what anybody says. He has not been great this year, right? He's the reason Robert Saleh got fired. He had 3 picks against the Minnesota Vikings. He had the game-winning pick against the Buffalo Bills, right? So again, we'll see how this all goes, right? I still like Buffalo in this division, especially with their addition of Amari Cooper, who we're about to get into in this current moment. But Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. Okay, listen, I personally love this pickup, right? I love this pickup for this trade for the Buffalo Bills because Amari Cooper is I think he's a underappreciated receiver, but he's great at what he does, and he's not a diva. So he's unselfish. He's not going to sit there and beg for touches, but when you go his way, he's going to be open and he's going to make plays. He's been like that his entire career. He doesn't talk. He just goes out there and plays. He performs. He's a great route runner, right? And people don't appreciate an Amari Cooper like they should. Amari Cooper is great at what he does. He's a true wide receiver one. A true wide receiver one. He can get open. He can catch the contested catches. He can score in the red zone. He can make yards after catch, right? He can do all these things, right? And people just don't appreciate what he does, but I do. And him going in there, he's going to come in there, put his nose down. He's going to want to work. He's going to want to be in a winning situation with Josh Allen, right? A better quarterback, the best quarterback he's possibly ever played with, the best quarterback he has ever played with, right? And now I think you're going to see a completely different version of Amari Cooper, and I think this Buffalo Bills team gets better. I know people are like looking over their shoulder, like Amari Cooper doesn't make the Buffalo Bills a better team. He adds to that dynamic, but they're not like a great team after that. But I am much higher on this pickup than most other players, right? Because I think Amari Cooper again is underappreciated receiver, but he's going to go out there, he's going to work hard, and he's going to help Josh Allen. It's going to help these young guys get more one-on-one opportunities, which is all you need, right? Especially when you have a running game like you do, okay? And he's not going to cause any problems. He's going to be cheaper. You're going to have him for the league minimum this year, right? And so I love this for him. Listen, you gave up the Cleveland Browns traded Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick to Buffalo for a 3rd and a 7th-round pick, which is an absolute steal. I mean, you gave up a 6th-round pick to trade Amari Cooper, which is absolutely crazy. Is the Cleveland Browns being the Cleveland Browns? Like, listen, the Cleveland Browns, I have no idea what they're doing. Like, it's getting bad, okay? Because this team was already unwatchable at a certain point, right? And with Deshaun Watson there, I mean, Nick Chubb's coming back, so hopefully he can make this team more, watchable, more structured. He comes in, he can add different dynamics to this team. But again, I'm not high on the Cleveland Browns, obviously, as they already are one of the worst teams in the NFL. But again, the Buffalo Bills, I think this is going to really add to their team and how good they can be. Some players, some people don't think this addition is that important, but I do. I'm very high on Amari Cooper, and I think he's going to be a great addition to this team. Listen, when we talk about belt to ass, the Detroit Lions, what they did to the Dallas Cowboys, it's just, the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. Did I know that the Detroit Lions were going to go in there and absolutely dominate the Dallas Cowboys? 100%. I knew Aiden Hutchinson was going to be a problem. I knew this defense was going to be a problem. The secondary, the added pieces to the secondary, Terrion Arnold, Carlton Davis, right? Brian Branch in year 2. I knew the secondary was going to take a huge jump this year. And with only CeeDee Lamb being your true wide receiving threat, I knew this was going to be a dominating game, right? But I didn't think it could be in this type of fashion. This isn't the most Dallas Cowboys-like fashion. You're out here letting the Detroit Lions come out here and call trick plays multiple times when they're up 35 points already. They have gotten disrespectful. They're hitting hook and ladders to 2 different linemen, okay? Penei Sewell and their other center, right? Listen, this is absolutely disrespectful football, right? You knew the Detroit Lions took this personal. You knew this was going to be a dogfight. Detroit took this personal the way they lost last game, and they came in here and absolutely fucking delivered, okay? Amon-Ra St. Brown gets texted by their starting cornerback, Brandon Joseph, whatever the hell his name is. I don't even know. And he got texted by, he was texting on it, swiping up on his DMs, and called him, said, "You are a B. You are a B." I'm not gonna be saying that out here. I'm not gonna be saying that type of word. That's out of here. That's getting out of line. But and then Amon St. Brown just posted it, right? And they are loving life. They came out here and absolutely embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones is going on live radio shows, talk shows, yelling at the people interviewing him because of the questions they're asking him. He's frustrated. He thinks he's the greatest GM of all time. He thinks he's the greatest owner of all time. He said his team is all in to win now. He signed, his team is not only terrible, but has a chance to finish last in this division. Okay? With the New York Giants not being as bad as people think. Okay, so this is just, listen, this is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I've been a part of a lot of ass whoopings as a fan, as a being on someone's team, and playing against your rival, and, like, putting that foot in their mouth, and stepping on their throats. And this was to a whole nother level, all right? We knew that this team was like Detroit, had a chip on their shoulder. This year they were being the hunted, so they had to come every week. And, they start off the season losing to Tampa Bay, kind of was like a fluke week. And then you come out here and absolutely dominate since then. But, I mean, listen, what this team was able to do, I mean, just in so many different ways. You scored with a lineman. Sam Laporta, somebody who they said was not getting talked about enough. He was not getting enough touches. 65-yard touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown going crazy. Listen, Jared Goff playing his absolute lights out. J-Mo, somebody who we were waiting for a breakout year this year, and he's having it, and he delivered. You're up 35. Jameson Williams, touchdown. Trayvon Diggs, this guy who you paid so much money for. Yes, I know he's coming off injury, but you guys were talking about Trayvon Diggs being a top 5 quarterback in football the year he got paid. You said he was the best quarterback in football at one point. They were trying to make that argument, and he goes out there and gets toasted multiple times in a game. His heart was broken. His soul was broken. He was getting cooked. He's not the same guy. He never was that guy. But people always were trying to stand up for him. Okay? So I love this for the Detroit Lions. I love Detroit. Detroit has been a franchise that has been stepped on. They've been spat on. They've never been supported. They've never been loved. They've always been looked like as the worst organization in NFL history outside them and the Browns. And to see them dominate the way they've been these last 2 years, I love it. I absolutely love it. They just have so many different weapons, right? And this goes into the same topic of discussion, right? Are the Detroit Lions the best team in the NFL, right? And I know we have to give the nod at this current moment to the Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold, who I absolutely adore, right? But listen, the Detroit Lions, to me, are the best team in football, regardless of that one loss, okay? They play the Minnesota Vikings this upcoming week, so they will have a chance to prove me right, or they will have a chance to prove me wrong, right? I hope Sammy D doesn't go pumpkin, but I do hope that he has a solid competitive week. And if Minnesota loses a game and they're both sitting at 5-1 coming this upcoming week, I'm not mad at it. 6-1, whatever it is. I'm not going to disrespect them if they have a good game against the Detroit Lions. But listen, this Detroit team is the best team in the NFL. I mean, you're first in offense and points per game, right? Last year, your issues in the secondary defensively, top 5 defense in points per game, top 8 in defense and points per game, which is an absolutely huge jump. You had Aiden Hutchinson, who we'll talk about in a moment about his injury, but listen, he was in the lead for most sacks in the season. He was in candidate for being a defensive player of the year this year, right? He took an absolutely outstanding jump. Okay, but this team, I mean, listen, you have David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, who are just the best 1-2 punch running back combo in NFL, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, who can be, whether you want to put him as a top 5 receiver, top 8, he's great at what he does. Jameson Williams, who is now creating himself a legitimate, one of the best number 2s in the NFL, right? In the way they use him. Sam Laporta, one of the best young tight ends in the league, and this team is just so good. And I'm so excited for them to play Minnesota this upcoming week. But now we're going to get into the quick discussion. The Detroit Lions obviously lost Aiden Hutchinson for what seems to be like a season-ending injury, right? And it's unfortunate, especially watching this moment happen live when his leg just completely turned into jelly and just looked gross, right? And I'm so sorry. My condolences are out for Aiden Hutchinson. This is not something I would like to see, especially for Detroit or for Aiden Hutchinson, so young in his career, having an amazing year that he was having, in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And for an injury like that to occur, I mean, it just sucks. I know it's heartbreaking. The fans of Minnesota, excuse me, the fans in Detroit, they were feeling it. You had all these different fan pages in the city of Detroit, Twitter, were out here posting about, it hurts. Everybody was hurting. The NFL community was hurting. I was hurt, right? Because I just felt so bad for that happening for the Detroit Lions. Okay, I do think this team is good enough all the way around that this shouldn't be this wouldn't make them not contenders, even though they don't have Hutch. As important as he is, as valuable as he is, I still think this team can go out here and win games and compete, right? Because I think they have the depth enough, they have the good coaching, right? They have a great offense, and so I'm still a fan of Detroit with or without Hutch. Obviously, we know how important Hutch is to this team, right? I'm not saying that. DN is one of the most important, positions in football. But yeah, I mean, the Detroit Lions are still my favorite to win a Super Bowl this year. I mean, they just are just so good. But listen, the NFC South, man. I mean, listen, this was a division where Minnesota, for the most part, there was years where they were getting disrespected. A lot of people were looking at them as a bad football team. Last year they had some life. They looked like a competitive football team. Defensively, offensively, they looked like they were taking strides. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Anderson, TJ Hawkinson, like they had some dudes. And now this year you have Sam Darnold effect. Now you have Minnesota 5-0. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Brian Flores is doing a terrific job on defense. Now they play Minnesota, like I said, Detroit this upcoming week. Detroit's 4-1. And I've already hyped up Detroit, right? And then you have Green Bay sitting at 4-2, a sneaky 4-2 team who went 2-0 with no Jordan Love, with Malik Willis, and now they're sitting at 4-2, and the division schedule hasn't really kicked off yet. I don't know, man. This team can get. You have, it's this team. Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Josh Jacobs. This team can look very, very. This division looks very, very good. Okay, you even have Chicago, who people were down on Caleb Williams early on for the expectations that were set for him, but now he's gotten better and better as each week has gone on. I understand he's played a soft part of his schedule, but he's done what he was supposed to do, which was win early, and now he's sitting at 4-2 spot, pushing for a playoff spot. His division his schedule will get tougher. He'll have to play obviously the Green Bay twice, Minnesota twice, and the Detroit Lions twice, right? Which is a tough 6 games. Don't get me wrong, but this division really has a chance to have a four playoff team division, which is unheard of, right? And for a franchise like Detroit who's been laughed upon, or a franchise like Chicago who has said that they haven't won since the 2000s, early 2000s, the year they made it to the Super Bowl. The fact that all this, this bad juju, this bad energy has been put on them, and this division is flourishing, I love it. I'm absolutely loving it. I love when the underdogs finally get to win a little bit. And even if Chicago doesn't make the playoffs this year, it's still a great team, and they're going to get better next year, and they're going to continue to develop and draft well, right? So I love this for this team. I love this for this division, and we're looking at the best division in the NFL right now, which a couple years ago you would have never even thought of, And for that, all these teams got off to the jump that they've been starting in. Green Bay with no Jordan Love, Minnesota with no JJ McCarthy. This is just great to see for all those franchises, and I love it for them. I love it for everybody in this division. And then we want to discuss Nick Sirianni and his whole situation with the fans this upcoming week. This past week, excuse me. I mean, listen, Nick Sirianni, Colin Cowherd talked about it openly first, right? Nick Sirianni coming off a bye, his first 6 plays, 0 for 6, Jalen Hurts, no completions, which is, to me, is a red flag, right? Because you look at, the weapons you have around you, Davante Smith, A.J. Brown, going against the Cleveland Browns, you have Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, there's just no reason why you can't come off a bye week and have a game plan or a first 10 scripted plays work to a T, Like, this is just, there's a lot of stuff that worries me about Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, shaving his head, says he's got to be more about himself. He's got to start yelling at the players. He's got to start being himself. He's got to start being the type. Bring more energy into this building. Now you're yelling at fans. You're doing all this nonsense, and I truly just don't know what to think about Nick Sirianni, right? Obviously, this offense has not looked good, right? Nick Sirianni has said that he hasn't been able to pick his coordinators that he wants, right? We've known that, right? And so his offense. So I don't know. I don't really know who to blame. Are we blaming Kellen Moore, or are we blaming Nick Sirianni for not stepping in and taking over this offense a little bit more? Like I'm not really sure what's going on in Philadelphia, but Nick Sirianni is definitely going to be on the hot seat. Philadelphia is not a place to play around. Like they don't care. They moved off Carson Wentz after they paid him that money, because he was never the same. Philadelphia is a tough place to be as a player, in any sport. And if you're a 76ers fan, boom, if you're a Phillies fan, all of it. They're going to give it to you. They're going to boo you if you're not performing. They're going to boo you and hate on you if you're not living up to the hype. And we just can't keep living off this Super Bowl run that Nick Sirianni had, right? Because then you had the last year, you were one loss team, a 10-1 at one point, and then you have that funk to end the season. Now you're losing games. You lose to the first round of the playoffs. You're a first round exit. You blow the division lead, and then you start out the season shaky, right? And I know, A.J. Brown dominated this upcoming game, but I would like to see Saquon Barkley be more a vocal point of this offense, right? Because I think, they're not using him the way I would. I think a lot of times they want to use him. It's, second and long, or second and long, third and long. And I would like to get him involved early on in games. First play of the game, let's come out here and run the ball, right? You have a great O-line, you have a great running back, boom. Get him involved early because I think he's being a bit underutilized the way I would. But again, Nick Sirianni is definitely, he all eyes are on him going forward. Because if you continue to play like this offensively and your defense to look the way it has been, and you're still getting into these conflicts with not only players but the fans now and the media, it's going to Philadelphia will come for your head. They're not a franchise to play around with. They're not a city to play around with, right? Philadelphia are very prideful fans for their sports organizations. So, all eyes are on you, Nick Sirianni. So you either got to straighten up or get the hell out. But listen, one of the stars of this past week has got to be Drake Maye, right? Drake Maye in his debut, yes, they did get blown out. The New England defense can't stop the run to save their life. But 41-21 loss to Houston, 20 for 33, 2 4 3, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs, right? And one of the first INT was really, really bad. I mean, it wasn't really okay. Let me rephrase that. It wasn't horrible, but it was an overthrow. It was a miss. You missed throw early on. Jitters. You could tell he was nervous. And you just overthrew him. Boom. But after that, as the game gone on, I really liked what I seen from Drake Maye. He continued to get better and better, more comfortable, and he had a couple bad plays here and there, but with the lack of receiving weapons he had, his first touchdown, absolute beautiful throw, right? Something you never seen Jacoby Brissett do. He definitely got the most out of his receivers. And somebody like Jalen Polk, who second round pick out of Washington, I was high on him coming into this year, but he's been dropping the ball. He even this past week he was dropping the ball as well, and that helping his quarterback out. So I give Drake Maye a lot of credit for what he did, because in the situation you're in, your O-line's not great. You didn't have Ramondre Stevenson. You weren't able to run the ball successfully, so they knew you were going to try to throw the ball. And what you were still able to do is good. And your ability to run the ball was something that I kind of underlooked coming into this year as a rookie. And he showed that he's capable of doing this stuff, right? And being able to use his feet and being a dual threat quarterback, and hurting the defense with his legs. And I'm happy to see that aspect of his game, be a vocal point this week. When he needed to do it, he did it, right? And he's a big guy, big athletic guy. But I love it for him. Listen, this receiving core is not very good, okay? We know that. And what he was able to do, again, against the Houston Texans, who was supposed to have a good defense, right? It's good. I would take that with pride. I would be happy. The New England Patriots, they were happy. You could hear it. The crowd finally had something to cheer for, right? Robert Kraft was getting up, cheering on his team, was happy to see. You could see the look in his eye. He was happy to see what was going on, right? And I'm not a New England Patriots hater, but I want to, I'm a Tom Brady fan. I watched them so much going up because I like Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. So I want to see that team win again. I want to see that team get back to competing, because that's really, what I grew up watching was the New England Patriots always be competitive. So to not see them compete, it makes me feel some type of way. So again, I love what I seen at Drake May. Drake May was that one quarterback coming out this year that I didn't know what to expect. He was my most unproven, unknown in going into this upcoming year, right? I didn't know what to expect from him. I wasn't sure if I trusted him to adjust and make plays in the NFL. Okay, I was worried about his lack of production his junior year at UNC. But again, phenomenal game from him. One INT, one bad throw. The second INT was a tip pass that just went up, and Houston came down to play, right? So I'm not hurting him for it, but you get a couple weapons around him. This team could look good because you have a running back in Ramondre Stevenson. So yeah, add to this O line, add to another receiver to this, a true receiver to this, and we could really be talking about a very respectable offense going into next year. Especially because typically that defense has always been good. So not having a good defense is just it's one of those things. But again, yeah. And then get into the next topic of discussion: college football talk. Listen, if you're not watching college football at this current moment, I feel bad for you. Because not only has these games been so action packed, but it's the best teams playing the best teams at this current moment. You had USC play Penn State. Yes, we fell short. But listen, that was a banger of a game. Okay? Drew Aller went out here and made some plays late in the game that just hurt us. We missed a field goal, which would have sent us into double OT, right? We know that. I understand that, right? Miller Moss thrown that pick right before the end of regulation. Possibly could have threw up a Hail Mary or got a long field goal, right? So USC is a couple big plays away from being undefeated or one-loss team, right? Michigan, they had one play the entire second half. That 66-yard run got them into the goal line. Okay, we played against Minnesota. Why did we lose? 3 turnovers, right? 2 turnovers that just hurt us. They hurt us so bad. Okay, we lose against, who else did we end up losing to? We lost to Penn State, Wisconsin. Am I tweaking? Who else did we lose to? No, because we have 3 losses. We beat Utah State. We beat LSU. But I don't forget who the other team I lost to. I'm tweaking right now. But currently struggling in Big Ten play, right? The adjustment to Big Ten play has not been as, I knew there was going to be some bumps in the road, right? Recruiting wise, we haven't been recruiting as great as we need to be competing in the Big Ten like that. So we're missing some O lineman pieces. Obviously, Miller Moss was the most hit quarterback in the NCAA last year or last week. In the entire season, right? So he's been getting hit a lot, but he's been playing great ball for the most part. You've seen him climb the Heisman race for a little bit. Maybe getting drafted this upcoming year. Who knows? But a big shout out to Miller Moss, waiting his time and finally getting a chance to play. And he's been doing that, right? So I do think Miller Moss has been doing a good job with the receiving weapons we have, because I don't think our receivers are like, the best in the league or the best in college, right? I do think they're a bit underwhelming, like we don't really have like one true alpha dog who goes out there and just dominates. Zachariah Branch was supposed to kind of be the guy that like led the charge, and even then you have a couple key crucial jobs here and there. But defensively, I mean, listen, our secondary's been playing good for the most part. Like, we've been playing some solid football. We haven't got like blown out, compared to last year where we had the worst defense in college football. Anybody and everybody would just run the ball against us and throw the ball against us and score 40 points against us. And that was kind of the story the last 2 years, right? And now we finally brought in a new DC. And we finally look respectable, right? And this is when we get to LSU just beat Ole Miss. Okay, LSU, the team we beat week 1, just beat Ole Miss. And now LSU is looking at a top 10 team in the country. You beat a top 10 team in Ole Miss, who already has their second loss of the season now, right? And now you see LSU competing for a SEC championship, right? Because no SEC loss currently. Alabama's struggling. Tennessee's struggling, right? So this LSU team's looking really, really good. And big shout out to Garrett Newsmeyer, right? Playing absolutely great football this year, man. Oh my God, he's just so great to watch. And he's just doing it all himself. They have absolutely no run game at this current moment. Haven't been able to run the ball. I mean, he threw the ball 51 times against Ole Miss, and he's been doing that all year long, right? He's just been, listen, so good. Kyron Lacey has been absolute star this year. LSU, we thought they were going to take this jump back as a team, but they've been solid defensively. They've been great offensively. And now Garrett Newsmeyer is kind of looking like he's leading this team to possibly a college football playoff. Obviously, you've got to win the rest of your games. Like you can't go out here and be a two loss SEC team, right? And that's just all gonna play out. But listen, college football has been so action packed. This is some of the best college football I've been able to watch. You had Ohio State play Oregon this week, right? Listen, I don't like either of these teams, right? I'm a USC fan. I don't like any of these teams. So I want, like, if I could, I would wish this game got, like, both teams lost in some sense. But Ohio State ends up losing 31-32. Oregon wins this game. Dylan Gabriel, I mean, listen, he had his best game of the year this year. This Ohio State defense is really where I get to start asking questions because listen, this defense, you couldn't stop the run. Jordan James did absolutely everything he wanted to you. Okay, this receiving core, Tez Johnson, right? He went out here and absolutely dominated this. I mean, listen, Dylan Gabriel did exactly everything he wanted. I still think Ohio State is the better team, right? They had chances to win this game. Will Howard not getting down in time to give himself a chance at the end zone or a field goal to end the game. He had a drop snap, which set him up in the third and long. He had an offensive pass interference, which allowed the ball to go back to Oregon, right? And put the ball in Dylan Gabriel's hand to set up a game-winning kick. So there was a lot of key crucial plays that didn't go Ohio State's way, and they only lost by 1 point. So there's a lot of good stuff to look at for this team going forward. Like there's some hope there. You're still a good team. We know how good you can be and how good you are, right? You just gotta clean up the little things, right? But yeah, man, I mean, listen, college football has been absolutely great this week. And if you haven't, right, this is my first week where I was able to sit down and watch an Ashton Gentry game, like all the first play to the last play, and watching him play. I mean, listen, 217, one touchdown, and he's in the Heisman conversation talk. He is the leading runner for the Heisman this year, but what he's doing is absolutely phenomenal with that team he's playing with Boise State, a Mountain West school, the only loss being to an Oregon team that's number one in the country at this current moment. They just beat Ohio State this last week, right? So, and Ashton Gentry did his job against Oregon, went for 200 yards against Oregon. He is the best player I've seen in a long time, right? And the best running back I've seen in a long time. And I hope he continues to dominate because I want to see him win a Heisman. He not only deserves it, but if he can manage to get his team to the college football playoff and maybe win a college football game in the playoff would be absolutely remarkable because you've seen them play against Oregon and they weren't able to stop him, right? And so I think this can be a very fun team, and I think Ashton Gentry, he can go out here and dominate, right? I'm not counting out Travis Hunter, right? But what Ashton Gentry is doing is just it's special, man. And if he was to go out here and break Barry Sanders' rushing record, that's just crazy. That's Hall of Fame college status. That's legendary college football status. And to do it at a team like Boise State, and now that the college football playoff has expanded, you can not only win your conference, be the best Power 5 non-Power 5 school out there, and you get to play in and win a playoff game, upset a top 5 team, could be absolutely crazy. The college football storylines are delivering, right? And I expect that to continue. College football has been great this year. Competitive game after competitive game. Vandy upsetting Alabama, right? Georgia losing to Bama, like just all these games have gone down to the wire and everything's been great football this year, and now you have a lot of unranked teams or lower ranked teams that are, they're balling out, they're competing, they're playing games. This has been very competitive this year, and I couldn't be happier, right? Like I haven't seen one team really just dominate everybody. Actually, I mean, if I had to say a team that was just dominating everybody, it would be Texas, right? Texas, I don't think has had like a close game yet. Michigan opened the year off, they blew them out, right? And then you just blew out Oklahoma again, who has their struggles offensively. But yeah, I mean, college football has just been so great this year. And if you're not watching college football, just go tune in. It's on all day, all Saturday, Friday night. You have these great games. Go out here and watch. Just go out here and check it out, man, because it's fun. It's great to watch, and then you also get to check out the QBs of the future. You get to watch Sador Enders play in the Big 12 and compete. It's just great to watch, and if you're not watching it, the atmosphere is just a different type of level. But with that being said, hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. Today's episode, right? And if you like today's episode, you already know what to do. Like, follow, and turn on post notifications. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you listen to Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow the show and give it a 5-star rating as it helps improve the algorithm. And with that being said, if you're not following my picks, you don't want to get paid, you don't want to take your girl on a vacation, Don't go follow my picks, but if you do, go check my stuff out. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok. That's where I post my picks daily. With that being said, we out.